Good day, everyone. I am Gerald A. Adunes, taking up Masters of Arts in Teaching Filipino. So today, I'm going to discuss to you my research paper entitled Assessing New Learning Delivery Modality, Perceptions Towards a Modular Learning Approach in Filipino of Grade 12 General Academic Strand students in Daniel Zeromoles State Comprehensive School of Fisheries. For chapter 1, which is the introduction, for my background of the study, education in the new normal is a challenge task in the Philippines in an attempt to push through education amidst the deadly pandemic caused by COVID-19. The Department of Education, DepEd, and Commission on Higher Education, CHED, adopted and implemented the flexible model of blended learning despite many oppositions because of the risk to open classes because of the virus. So the different learning modalities are the following according to Ansaldo 2021. So we have the modular printed, the modular digitized, the online, educational TV, radio-based instruction, homeschooling, and blended learning. For the cities where modern living is adopted and students and learners have the privilege of having internet connection at home, online learning is implemented, especially for the high schools and colleges, but for those living in a rural or provinces where internet is only available for only few, modular distance learning is implemented. DepEd will be implementing a distance learning approach, a learning delivery mode, so according to Maxamble 2020 as cited in Aksan 2021. So modular distance learning or MDL is one of the teaching approaches where the students have to learn everything in the module using their own effort at their own pace. So it is according to Gonzalez 2015 as cited in Gimalon et al. 2021. So it is where interaction takes place between the teacher and the students who are geographically remain from each other during instruction. So this means lesson will be delivered outside the traditional or face-to-face setup. Moreover, he asserted that the method differs from the traditional one wherein students just listen to learn the concept presented by the teachers. So further, in order to surpass the difficulties faced by the students in the traditional classroom situations, so he further suggested that the modular approach may be a good alternative since it is student-centered, self-paced, and requires no note-taking. So based on the study conducted by Ambayon 2020 as cited in Castroverde F and Ecala M 2021, so modular instruction is more operative in the teaching learning method as equated to usual teaching approaches because in this modular approach, the students learn in their own stride. So it is unrestricted self-learning panache in which instantaneous reinforcements, a comment is provided to practice exercise which stimulates the students and builds curiosity in them. However, the implementation of modular instruction fostered various challenges to teachers, students, and parents. And according to Nardo 2017, as cited in Aksan 2021, claimed modular instruction is an alternative instructional design that uses developed instructional materials which are based on the needs of the students. So students are encouraged to work on various activities that are interesting and challenging to maintain focus and attention, so thereby encouraging independent study. So students engage themselves in learning concepts presented in the module. So they develop a sense of responsibility in accomplishing the task provided in the module. With little or no assistance from the teacher, the learners progressed in their own. They learned how to learn and they were empowered. Okay, so let's come to the statement of the problem. So the main purpose of this study was to determine the perceptions towards modular learning approach in Filipino of grade 12 general academic Strand students in Daniel Zeromoldes State Comprehensive School of Fisheries. Specifically, it seeks to answer the following questions. So first, we have what is the perceptions of the students towards modular learning approach in Filipino? Second, what are the challenges of the students towards modular learning approach in Filipino? And what is the effect of new learning delivery modality to the modular learning approach in Filipino of the grade 12 GAS students in Daniel Zeromoldes State Comprehensive School of Fisheries? Okay, next we have the significance of the study. The present paper is presently to study the perceptions towards modular learning approach in Filipino grade 12 general academic strand or GAS students in Daniel Zeromoldes State Comprehensive School of Fisheries. So this study can help educators and planners since it will consider the issues and concerns on the use of modular distance learning approach. And also the administrators are the foremost personnel who benefited from this study as they were aware on the issues and concerns with regards to the modular distance learning approach. So this can make them think of what actions can be taken to reach future target. And this study is also beneficial to the teachers who are affected in this on the use of modular distance learning approach. And the direct recipients of the study are the students because they are in the center of educative process. So any improvement on the modular learning system can pave the way of producing better learning to survive and thrive in the society. So modular distance learning would help learners to be trained them on time management, setting their priorities, solve and answer the problems and questions given in their modules, and helps learners mentally. It can be associated with developing self-regulation skill by being independent. With this, learners can have a positive and academic attitude towards the new learning modality. Okay, so we have the scope and limitation. So this study focuses on the effect of new learning delivery modality to modular learning approach in Filipino of grade 12 GAS students in Daniel Zeromoldes State Comprehensive School of Fisheries, and also the perceptions and challenges of the students in new learning delivery modality to modular learning approach in Filipino of grade 12 GAS. And the limitation of the study are the time in gathering the data and the selection of the respondents, since this will be conducted this time of. Okay, now let's come to chapter 2, the review of related literature and conceptual framework. So review of literature and related studies. So due to COVID-19 pandemic, face-to-face learning engagements of students and teachers within school are suspended. This pandemic has paved the way to the implementation of modular distance learning as an urgent response to ensure continuity of education. So the Philippines is in the process of adapting to the new normal form of education at present. And continuous innovation of educators and active involvement of other stakeholders are the driving for its success. It's according to Aviles et al. 2021. So the academic performance is heavily affected by their coping strategies during this pandemic when they are trying to learn from a distance. So it's according to Alvarez et al. 2021. So the students who have better academic performance are those who had opportunities to practice time management skills, and the differences in the time management level between students according to faculty, gender, and curriculum. Hence, constant monitoring of teachers or home visitation on the progress of learners to be able to give feedback mechanism and guide those learners who need special attention is a must. The administration should concentrate on improving and simplifying worksheets or workbooks to be distributed to the learners, accompanied with video lessons that are aligned with the most essential learning competencies or MELC. So they should conduct trainings, seminars, or workshops for teachers to be acquainted so that their skills in the use of modular distance learning or MDL will be enhanced. So lastly, before the opening of school year, a meeting or open forum among teachers, parents, and other stakeholders should be conducted to further explain or discuss the reality of the new normal education. And according to Dargo, GM, and Dimas M 2021, that another problem is that there are too many tasks or activities incorporated in the modules. So, based on the study conducted by Agarin 2021, the challenges and the status of modular learning have no significant effect on learners' academic behavior and performance. So, this implies that there is a significant effect between the challenges and status of modular learning as to learners' academic behavior and performance. So it may be recommended that many students who learn and think differently struggle with the changes in routine and loss of structure. So teachers may help them use this time as an opportunity to develop new strategies to help with focus and learning. So this in return can avoid future challenges or problems to the teachers. So it's according also to Agarin 2021. So according to Talimudao AJS and Madrigal DV 2021, the printed modular distance learning or PMDL provides learning with equitable access to quality and relevant education during the COVID-19 pandemic. So meanwhile, significantly lower quality of PMDL in small and medium schools than their big and mega school counterparts signifies the need for instructional supervision to maintain excellence quality and address the current shortcomings. Similarly, the challenges encountered by the teachers in the quality and implementation of PMDL suggest the teachers need support in the said modality. So this is best addressed through instructional supervision. It is recommended, therefore, that school administrators should employ adequate instructional supervision to maintain the excellent quality and implementation of PMDL and address the challenges encountered by the teachers. Okay, now so let's come to the theoretical framework. So the current paper, which aimed to assess, evaluate, and improve the learning approach of grade 12 GAS students and their Filipino subject during the modular distance learning caused by the pandemic, was anchored with the evaluation model developed by Kirkpatrick 1998. So the most common used model of evaluation was identified based on the learning program goals is 4 levels model developed by Kirkpatrick 1998. So the model includes 4 levels of measurement to assess reaction, learning, behavior, and results. Although the Kirkpatrick model has been applied to traditional learning for a long time, recently, it has been applied to distance learning. So it's according to Alili 2021. So again, the model includes 4 levels of measurement to assess reaction, learning, behavior, and result. So the level 1, which is the reaction level, measures how participants react the learning process, mainly by their perceptions or satisfactions. So level 2, which is the learning level, analyzes if the learning process is really understood through assessments such as increased knowledge, skills, or experience. Then, meanwhile, level 3, which is the behavior level, looks as they are utilizing what they learned at work. Example, change in behaviors. And lastly, the level 4, or the results level, determines if the material had a positive impact on the learning process and performance of the students during the distance learning. Okay, now let's come to the conceptual framework. So this study is about the assessing new learning delivery modality. So as you can see in the figure, so first we have to determine the perception of the students towards a modular learning approach. And we will also know the challenges of the students towards modular learning approach and the effect to the learning approach in Filipino. Okay, now let's come to the operational definition of terms. First, we have the modular distance learning approach. So the modular distance learning approach is the most popular type of distance learning. So this learning modality is currently used by all public schools. So learning through printed modules emerged as the most preferred distance learning method of parents with children who are enrolled this academic year. This is also in consideration of learners in rural areas where internet is not accessible for online learning. This is according to Gonzalez 2021. Next, we have the learning delivery modality. So learning delivery modality comprises means and resources used to structure the learning experience. So it used as they are customized according to each other learner, individual learning level, personal characteristics, learning needs, and learning styles. And also we have the learning approach. So it refers to the skill and behaviors that children use to engage in learning. And also we have the academic performance. So according to Narad and Abdullah 2016, academic performance is the knowledge gained which is assessed by marks by a teachers and or educational goals set by students and teachers to be achieved over a specific period of time. Then we have the pandemic. So pandemic is the worldwide spread of new disease such as new influenza virus or the coronavirus or COVID-19. This study is currently in the time of pandemic. Then general academic strand. So the general academic strand or GAS is a senior high school strand that takes on a generalist approach in preparing students for college. This is the only strands offered in DZRSCSOF. Okay, so now let's come to chapter 3, the methodology. So we have the research design. So this study used a descriptive research design in order to systematically analyze the data about the perception towards a modular learning approach in Filipino of the grade 12 GAS students in DZRSCSOF. So descriptive research design illustrates present characteristics, conditions, images, and the like based on the impression or reaction of the respondents. Then the locale of the study. So this study was conducted in the premises of Daniel Zeromalde State Comprehensive School of Fisheries, or DZRSCSOF. So the DZRSCSOF was located at Barangay Tanghas, Tolosa, Leyte, near at Visayas State University, Tolosa campus. Then the respondents of the study. So the respondents of this study were 10 students who are enrolled at DZRSOF this school year 2021-2022 of grade 12 general academic Strand students. So we have two sections. So 5 from Nidaria, then 5 from Porifera, a total of 10 respondents. Uh, Okay, so we have the research instrument. So the researcher used interview tool online in this study in order to gather facts and opinions of the respondents about the study because the researcher wanted to determine the perception of the grade 12 students towards modular learning approach or MLA in Filipino. So a set of open-ended questions were asked to determine the perception of the students towards modular learning approach, the challenges of the students towards modular learning approach in Filipino, and the perceived effect of new learning delivery modality to the learning approach in Filipino grade 12 GAS students. Okay, so we have the validation of instrument. So the research instrument was checked by the expert in formulation of the questions, and also the grammatical correctness and the validity and reliability of the questions. And the sampling procedure. So this study used sampling design of non-random sampling. Next, we have the data gathering procedure. So in gathering all the data needed in this study, the first step was to construct the interview guide. So after which, check the validity and reliability of the research instruments. Then, researcher secured a permission letter from the school principal of DZRSCSOF. Then, the answers of the students from interview through online were gathered and the result through thematic analysis. So when we say thematic analysis is one of the most common forms of analysis within qualitative research. So it emphasizes identifying, analyzing, and interpreting patterns of meaning within qualitative data. Okay, now let's come to the analysis of data. So the common answers gathered will be summarized, analyzed, and interpreted on the basis of the theories used in this study. Following this process, the text will read over and over to get a sense of the whole and begin the interpretation of the data. Interview data will be clarified through questioning and checking the accuracy of transcription, while the interpretation will be reviewed by another coder or rater for consensus on the themes emerging from the interviews. In the discussion of the research findings, several quotations will be used to support the measure of the interpretation's credibility. Next, we have the ethical consideration. To conduct in this study, different ethical considerations will be considered. First, it is important to respect towards the participants in this study. It is the right of the participants to be treated as human beings who have the right to be respected in a significant manner. Another ethical consideration followed in this study is free will to participate in the answering the online interview. And another ethical consideration that is important and significant adopted in the research is privacy, confidentiality, and anonymity. So this guided the study in accomplishment of its objective. The confidentiality and privacy are focused more by the researcher because these are the foremost and prior consideration of researcher. And let's come to the chapter 4, which is the data analysis, findings, and discussions. So, data analysis. This study reviewed by another coder or rater for consensus on the themes emerging from the interviews. So for the question number 1, the common answer from the respondents, it is more on the positive side, which is the modular learning approach in Filipino can help them manage the time and can discover more while learning. Then for question number 2, it is contrasting to number 1 question, which is the consensus of everybody were on the negative impact of modular learning approach in Filipino. And lastly, for question number 3, for this question, all the respondents have the positive effect to the modular learning approach in Filipino, while we are using the new learning delivery modality. Okay, now let's come to the findings and discussions. So in this discussion of the research findings, several quotations will be used to support the measures of the interpretation's credibility. So the question number 1, which is the perception towards modular learning approach in Filipino. So the common answers from the respondents, it is more on the positive side, which is the modular learning approach in Filipino can help them manage the time and can discover more while learning. So for respondent A answered, in terms of its bad or good approach, from my experience, so it was a quite challenging at first, but I learned how to adapt after some time to the point that I discovered self-studying was a better approach for me because I got to learn how to manage my time properly and study at my own pace without pressure from my peers, and beside that, I got to continue my education without risking my health. Then for respondent B, distance learning gives me more control of my studies. I can focus more time on subjects that require greater effort and study. I don't have to sit through a teacher fielding questions that have already been answered. I can still collaborate with other students but more effectively. Then for respondent C, this modular learning approach has been advantage to me. I've learned to manage my time answering and learning my modules and of course fulfilling my responsibilities at home. It pushed me to do and discover more on my own while learning. Okay, so for question number 2, which is the challenges of the students towards modular learning approach, it is contrasting to number 1 question, which is the consensus of everybody were on the negative impact of modular learning approach in Filipino. For respondent A, time management and mental health issues. For respondent B, the main challenges that the students have encountered are self-studying, poor internet connection, lack of sleep, and time to answer all the modules due to the great numbers of activities, distractions, and lack of focus. So some students don't come up easily with the given topic or their modules. For respondent C, as an average learner or an independent person, the challenges I can experiencing is on course the difficulty on learning to some part of some subjects. So and sometimes I am having a hard time managing my time because of the responsibilities in our home, obligations as a church server, and I'm doing sidelines or part-time jobs, so there were times that I couldn't have enough time answering my task in our modules. Okay, for question number 3, which is the effect to modular learning approach. For respondent A, because I got to study at my own pace, modular learning approach had a positive effect to how I understand our lessons very well, resulting to me having the good grades. Then for respondent B is that I can do better performance by reading first the module and the help of my siblings, and sometimes I do ask to my teachers if I didn't get the given task performance, and after I will do my performance to my teacher. Then for respondent D, it's the sometimes it rises up and sometimes sinks in. Laziness on me that I didn't comply some given activities is the cause. Okay, now let's come to chapter 5, which is the summary, conclusion, and recommendation. So for summary, for the perceptions towards modular learning approach in Filipino, so we have it is a quiet challenging, discovered self-studying, focus more time on the subjects, don't have to sit through a teacher folding questions that have already been answered, and help time management. And for the challenges towards modular learning approach, we have time management and mental health issues, self-studying, poor internet connection, lack of sleep, and time to answer all the modules due to the great numbers of activities, distractions, and lack of focus, and difficulty on learning to some parts of the subject. Also, to the effect towards a modular learning approach, we have the positive effect on understanding the lesson, resulting having a good grades and having a better performance. And also, it sometimes rises up and sometimes sink in. Okay, now let's come to the conclusion. So in this study, the perceptions towards modular learning approach in Filipino of the grade 12 GAS students in DZRSC-SOF were follows. So the perception of the grade 12 GAS students to the modular learning approach in Filipino have the positive side on the modular learning approach in Filipino, which it can help them manage the time and can discover more while they are learning. Then, the modular learning approach in Filipino is quite challenging in the part of the grade 12 GAS students. And the effect of new learning delivery modality have the positive effect to the modular learning approach in Okay, so next we have the recommendations. So based on the results of this study, the researcher recommended the following. The modular learning approach in Filipino must be continuing in face-to-face instruction even the pandemic vanish, since it proved that this is going to improve the self-studying of the students. The teachers will monitor that learners' progress, feedback mechanism, and guide those who need special attention. They are also needed to be more flexible and even-minded in any situations. Also, teachers need to prepare easy types of modules in Filipino to understand and assess. This module is quite challenging in the part of the students. Further, the role of the parents or siblings is to give attention to the learners at home while answering the activities or any work that is related to their schooling. And parents need to give more support and motivation to their children. And lastly, administration should give attention in preparing the modules to be given to students. That modules are very easy to understand and answerable by the students. And here are my references of my research paper. Okay, so that's all my presentation of my research entitled Assessing the New Learning Delivery Modality, Perceptions Towards a Modular Learning Approach in Filipino of the Grade 12 General Academic Strand students in Daniel Zero Model State Comprehensive School of Fisheries. Again, I am Gerald A. Adonis. Thank you for listening.